Ripping off anyone is a low act, but when it's kids with disabilities, that's about as low as you can go. A company specialising in holidays for families with extra needs has left clients with broken hearts and empty wallets. Instead of delivering precious memories, the owner is accused of taking their money, then ghosting them.
She has been harvesting leads through Facebook groups that are targeted at homeschooling families and families with neurodivergent children, and then she has defrauded them. She is a predator.
Her name is Brooke Shawn Bald. She promises the world but doesn't deliver.
The fact that she's done this and targeted neurodiverse families is, I can't even put into words.
On some trips, accommodation isn't organised, others, flights aren't booked, and when families demand refunds, Brooke ghosts them.
You've got children coming from all over the world to visit Santa Claus at Christmas, children with special needs, children with disabilities. This has brought such distress to these children.
Gold Coast mum April homeschools her 7-year-old son who's on the spectrum.
Bold Gorilla owes us $14,000.
April's family was to join other families on a Europe Christmas trip organised by Brooke's company, Bold Gorilla.
2 weeks out from the trip, I received an email from her saying that there'd been changes with the NDIS legislation and we can now no longer use NDIS funding for the trip. We would have pivoted and added the additional funds if required, if that was the case. But to me that seems strange because the NDIS changes came into effect in October and yet she was telling us this on, I think it was the 14th of December.
April's family had flown out earlier to spend some time alone before joining the Bold Gorilla convoy. While overseas, April contacted the Scottish castle they were meant to be staying at.
And she knew straight away. She said, look, I'm terribly sorry to say that this woman has been ignoring our calls for the past few months.
I had to explain to her that everything that had happened about us trying to reach out to Bold Gorilla so many times to make arrangements, to get payment.
The castle operator, who didn't want her name used, spoke with us from Scotland.
I had a potential nightmare scenario of 40 Australians turning up at the gates of our castle in a bus that couldn't get through the gates, potentially in a blizzard with a lot of luggage, turning up saying, right, where's dinner?
April had to rebook her own accommodation and flights home.
We were out of pocket by thousands of dollars extra and there's been no return of NDIS funds and no return of our funds.
We paid close to $20,000 out of NDIS funds across my 3 children's plans and then an additional $4,000 from my out-of-pocket to cover flights.
Rachel lives on the Central Coast in New South Wales.
So I've got 4 kids, 3 are autistic and a baby.
But weeks before her trip, just like April's, Rachel was told she couldn't go due to NDIS changes.
We had a countdown, we were so excited. It's been something that I've wanted to go to Legoland for a long time.
Brooke never returned their money either.
They were really upset, especially my son whose best friend was meeting us over there. Both him and his best friend were in tears when we said we couldn't go.
Rachel's family had previously been to Fiji with Bold Gorilla when Brooke vanished while on the trip.
I received an email from the manager of that resort. The owner of the company had left Fiji at 4 a.m. and owed them $10,000. She didn't pay the final bill.
So she just basically abandoned us.
Queensland mum Joanne and her daughter were stranded in Europe.
There was lots of tears, lots of crying.
Midway through their December trip, Brooke pulled another vanishing act.
And the Helsinki accommodation told us that they couldn't honour the booking that she had made because she owed them money, and so we had no accommodation booked.
Families scrambled to make alternative plans.
We decided to instead go ahead and rebook everything ourselves and pay for it for ourselves. I think I worked it out to be about $5,000 to $6,000 extra.
A Current Affair has spoken with more than a dozen families who've detailed similar experiences. Among them, Sydney friends Madeline and Annalie.
I then got the message that the trip was cancelled when I had already checked in. at the airport, and we were supposed to be contacted about, refunds, and we just got nothing. We basically got blocked.
About 5 weeks before we were set to leave, I emailed them and asked for flight details, but I never got any response. I was just ignored totally.
Brooke claims to operate her business out of this home in a country town 3 hours drive from Melbourne. When we arrived, she wasn't there. Our calls and emails weren't answered.
I also have tried to book a trip under another name, and she responded within 5 minutes, but then wasn't responding to my emails at all.
Days after we reached out to Brooke, she sent families this email claiming Bold Gorilla was being shut down, in part due to what she says is a result of harassment from her customers, leading to her bank accounts being frozen. Corporate regulator ASIC told us the business remains registered.
I would love to see her face the full extent of the law.
We have to stand up and we have to say something, because if we say nothing, these people continue to do this evil to people who are vulnerable.
And the NDIS Commission told us it's looking into the concerns raised about Bold Gorilla. If you've had any dealings with Brooke, please let us know.